stretch, leadership coach. This is Biz Lab Live, and we have. You're supposed to introduce yourself.
That's you, Tyler.
Oh, that's me? Oh, Tyler. Sorry, my bad. I thought it was like Zoom where everybody was always, okay. Can we start over? No. Tyler, marketing guy, specialized in email marketing, customer journey flows, stuff like that. And then...
yeah, it's the same everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere. So then...
Well, here for startup founders and entrepreneurs. And we are going to have a tech problem-free live tonight.
Well, I mean, tech problem-free, but maybe like human problem replacement.
We might have some attention span glitches here, but at least the tech works.
So, well, I want to just out myself. I am coming down from way over caffeinating myself the beginning part of this week from just being in the writing hole. Tyler, I'm going to out you. You had a baby, so you're not sleeping at all.
Well, I was involved in the process a little while ago, but I didn't necessarily have the baby.
That's what I mean. You have a newborn in the house.
We do have a newborn in the house, and he's awesome. He is actually our best sleeper, so fingers crossed that continues.
It won't, but best of luck.
Can we kick David off? Can we kick him out?
First, you have to identify where on the screen I am.
Yeah, exactly.
And David, what's your excuse this week?
I pretty well rested. Had an okay week.
Okay.
Not over caffeinated, but plenty caffeinated.
Okay, good. So you're manning the ship today, basically.
Oh God help us. Okay, here we go. I don't have the jars. Katie, you're gonna have to still do that part.
All right. Well, if you haven't joined us for Biz Lab Live before, the whole concept is we don't know what biz or business we're designing. We pull an idea out of this handy dandy jar, and whatever we get, we design a business around it. We do marketing, the strategy, and anything legal to protect this imaginary business. And if anyone wants to take this idea and run with it, depending on how good it is, then please do and tell us about it. All right, let's get a good one.
Yes, last week's, or I guess 2 weeks ago, was really fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Lemonade stands.
Lemonade stand, yeah.
That was awesome.
Rad. Okay. Ooh, this is a fun one. Are you guys ready?
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Yes.
Okay, matchmakers.
Ooh.
Ooh. I feel like I have an advantage here as the only single person on this call.
Do we?
And having been a dating coach for men.
Yeah, but that didn't work out, remember?
Have you guys seen Fiddler on the Roof? Do we need to play like that matchmaker song now?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
All right, matchmaker.
Okay.
Okay, matchmakers. Ooh, this is. I'd be curious if it.
It's basically a dating broker. The business model is a form of brokering. Mm-hmm. It's just brokering in the dating landscape, as opposed to houses or businesses or mortgages or whatever. Right. So the standard business model of a broker is, it's not going to work, because the standard business is the broker is paid some commission based on a transaction. And here you can't get a commission on a date. There's no but some, so let's think. So there's no shortage of dating apps and platforms that I know nothing about. And you're not the expert there.
In here. Okay. So matchmakers can charge anywhere from like $7,000 for low end to $50,000 for high end.
What?
Well, yeah.
Are you?
No, I'm dead serious.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Not for coaching, just for an introduction?
Just for introduction.
Wow. $7,000 to $50,000?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know single people. Why can't I do this?
Oh, Lee Markham. So glad he didn't say we're brokering Me too, Lee. Me too. Not that kind of show. No, but so the business model is like if you're charging that much, you have to pretty much guarantee that everyone is kind of at that financial level, which paying $50,000 to enter into this this company's database is a marker for that. Because if you're only making $75,000 a year, you're not going to be able to afford it. So
you're saying like these other businesses are basically saying we work with, I don't want to say like high-end people, but like affluent people, if you will. They have access to money, and that's how they're based. That's like their qualifier, right?
Yeah.
So not everybody's in there.
Typically, matchmakers will guarantee a certain amount of introductions, and that's pretty much it. So you can sort through like a whole database of people and choose, I want this person, this person, this person to be introduced with. And if they agree, that counts as one introduction. So Talkify has tried to make this like affordable for a bunch of people. And so they basically, as soon as you get to the third date with someone, they drop you. And so I've gotten to plenty of third dates that do not turn into long-term relationships.
Interesting.
What do you mean they drop you? What do you mean they drop you?
They think their work is done.
Oh, got it.
At least that's how it used to work several years ago. My ex-boyfriend who told me that was his experience. So you have that pricing model. You have to figure out, who's your demographic that you're serving, what matters to them, right? For me personally, like there's no matchmaker.
As the matchmaker, right?
Yeah,
as the matchmaker.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And also like, here's my beef with background checks. Because I have legit done criminal background checks, like the ones that you pay like $20 for online, on people who I know who have a criminal background, and nothing shows up. So I almost want there to be like bounty hunter plus matchmaking together.
Well, private investigator.
Private investigator. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's better. Not bounty hunter. Private investigator and matchmaker put together.
The bounty hunters is if the date goes really badly and you need them to be taken.
Right.
That would be a different service. I probably wouldn't have a lawyer on here talking about it.
That's mafia and matchmaker put together.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is okay.
I'll take you out on a date you can't refuse. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So with these other companies, is it mostly, have they niched down mostly based off of income level? Or does it get even more specific of like, we only work with like founders or entrepreneurs of companies because we know that like, typically speaking, they kind of fill this persona, and the best personas for, entrepreneurs and stuff like that kind of fit this mold. So we only work with.
So here's the array of what you can do. So you can have a very small niche of paying clients, but remember, you have to match them successfully to have anything happen in your business, to like grow it all. So if you have it niched down that much, you actually have to build up a whole network of non-paying people that you're matching with them, right? So you could specifically go towards, like we work with successful entrepreneurial women who are paying a matchmaker and we're introducing them to non-paying men, or vice versa. Or you could have it be the standard where people are all paying a shit ton of money, to basically guarantee that the people that they'll be introduced to also are at that level of net worth, right? You could also do it like religion is a big thing for a lot of people. Like marrying outside of your religion is a huge thing. So, I mean, you could say, I'm Buddhist or I'm Catholic and I really don't want to marry outside of Catholicism. I mean, let's look at dating sites like Farmers Only. I had a girlfriend who got kicked off of Farmers Only.
Wait, I didn't even. What? I thought you were joking. This is a real thing. Farmers Only.
Farmers Only is a real dating site.
Wow.
Because the lifestyle of being a farmer, like your schedule is so different from everyone else, right? So dating is really hard unless you meet other farmers who understand that you have to be up at 4:00 in the morning to go and feed the chickens.
But what if you want to meet a farmer and you're not?
You're not allowed on Farmers Only.
They want to date other farmers. Okay.
Yeah. Like that's it's in the name. You have to. It's only farmers.
I got it.
No, this girlfriend, she was like, I like farmers. I think they're like masculine and sexy. And she was talking to this guy, and she said, "Oh no, I'm not actually a farmer. I just really like farmers." And he reported her, and she got kicked off.
What?
Yep.
That's amazing.
JD is for people in the Jewish community, and you can specify what denomination of Judaism you follow.
Right.
And what else? There's Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Kristen.
Oh yeah.
Nebraska, it's real. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I had no idea.
So yeah, but I think catering to like a single demographic would be that's the way to do it, because everyone's looking for a niche.
Yeah. I mean, what if it was a little broader than founders or entrepreneurs? What if it's digital nomads?
Right.
I think digital nomads would
have
work.
to be, one thing you can't quite. I mean, you still have to be location. Like you can,
right, but you can set up a system. You can set up a system, and it's like, cool. We have these people in the Northeast corridor right now. They could meet, right? We have these people who are planning to be in Asia for all of next year.
Okay.
Let's connect them and introduce them. I mean, it's an idea. I'm not attached to it.
Well, I guess where are we seeing opportunities here, right? Like, I guess that's where I'm coming in, because there's a few different ways that this could get pulled off. So what are the potential like low-hanging fruits? So on one hand, we've got like a product, like a service that's $50,000, really pricey. Yeah. We also have stuff like hookup apps, right, that are essentially free. Right. So are we saying that there's an opportunity to kind of like squeeze in the middle where it's not terribly expensive, but you do have some skin in the game? Are we thinking that niching down and we have more opportunity on like audience types?
Oh, no, I just had an idea, because this is a big thing for women these days, is looking for men who've done their emotional work and have gone to therapy. So to be accepted into the matchmaker, you have to have like a doctor's note from your therapist saying that
That's awesome.
Gone to therapy.
This person is not totally a psychopath.
No, they're insane, but in progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, I'm in therapy. I'm just a little nuts. It's fun nuts.
Yeah.
But because there's all these articles these days in like Psychology Today, and it's like we have this uptick in lonely men because women are being more emotionally demanding of their partners, and the men don't have the EQ to meet them.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. That's interesting.
So the niche is so everyone's. Just the men have been to therapy, or everyone's been to therapy in this?
I think everyone. I think a lot of women go to therapy.
Got it.
But the thing is it's got to be therapist recommended. It sounds like so you would go to your therapist
so it's like
and
emotional intelligence.
I'm single. I'm looking to date. Here's this awesome thing, but what I need a recommendation letter from you. Or
that could go off the rails. I think there has to be some kind of like just general evaluation.
Well, Katie, what you mentioned off camera about the evaluation process. Wait, but that with Money Story, with personality testing, you
Yeah.
can incorporate a lot. I know very little about dating apps,
Mhm.
so I don't know if this is a thing that's standard or out there, but a matchmaking service where you really have like a serious onboarding ramp
Mhm.
where you there's assessments, there could be coaching as part of it, there can be like several meetings digitally or in person with somebody to like really put you in. I don't have to put you in a category because that sounds like we're talking
No,
about,
totally.
but like really kind of figure out where you are in a systematic way.
Right. Right. Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that out there? Do you know of any
I don't
services
know of
that
any
offer
services that do that. Um,
Well, I mean, I guess that like if you were working with this other company that's charging $50,000, I would assume maybe I'm wrong. I'm assuming that they have a pretty robust like onboarding process.
so when you think about that, so the onboarding process is asking things like, where do you expect to spend time with holidays? For holidays, like what's your relationship with your family? What does your partner's relationship with their family have to be? Like what kind of sex do you like and what kind of sex do you want your partner to want?
Yeah.
Where do you like to travel? What are your interests? Like what are your absolute deal breakers? Pretty much everything that you'd consider in a relationship. But remember, if their number one sorter is for net worth, that's generally the top priority of the people who sign up,
Yeah.
right? I think they do like do some sorting probably for on the call. Like if someone seems like they're nuts, so they're not going to introduce them to their other clients because they're going to lose clients that way,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so something like people have to take personality tests, like the DISC profile. Yeah, something like that, Lee. Exactly. Um, after 3 dates before you get drops, couples therapy. Yeah. And actually, that's actually a good idea, Kristen, because you could actually incorporate that, like they get to come back and get couples therapy from this organization, you know,
Okay.
ongoing as they get. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. Like it's kind of interesting here because I mean I feel like this is a kind of a saturated market. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of ways to kind of get what you're looking for, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but I do think that there could be a good service for people who are really serious about entering into a more serious relationship, right? So like, I mean, one thing that you could do is in this, you have the couples therapy, or is it like the first meeting is over Zoom and it's recorded and it gets sent to like a relationship coach or whatever that watches it and is like, oh, like you guys actually got like some really good like interactions, or you two were super awkward. I may not recommend a second date or something like that. Ooh, married at first sight. I don't know what married at first sight is. What's married at first sight? I mean, it sounds
I mean,
amazing.
I've never heard of it either, but yeah.
I'm a little bit weary of like over right because I feel like there's a danger of weeding out people that could be a good match
Right.
if it's because like compatibility and interest, all of that is only like one part of relationships.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
certainly successful relationships where interests are very different, personalities are very different, but yet there is compatibility and there's complementary
Yeah.
interest or aspects of their personality that make it a good fit. So I'd be a little bit wary about like overdoing it in that direction because I feel like you just might accidentally eliminate people that could be a really good fit.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also, you know, you get an extrovert and an introvert on a date, and the introvert's going to be a little more withdrawn than the extrovert. Like it's just not their natural
Right.
setting, you know, where the extrovert's like a new person, amazing, I get to entertain, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, speaking as an introvert, we like extroverts because they talk for us, right? Like,
Right. But
and
on the,
they're,
for the extrovert, that's kind of exhausting because you're talking for yourself and for another person who you don't even know yet. Right?
yeah.
So, Kristen,
Well,
it's a sociologist, pastor, and psychologist who match people.
yeah, that's
This topic
Yes.
is harder than I thought it would be. I thought we'd have so much, like we'd be able to, you know, snap something
well.
out.
So let's see we can drill down. Are we app based or something else? Is there been? I have not been in this scene in a bit. Are people sick of apps? Are people looking for new apps? Are people using multiple apps? Are we
Yes,
necessarily
yes,
competing with
yes,
other apps?
and yes,
Because yeah,
and
yes,
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 and
yes.
yes, and yes. Well, I think okay, so what is it? I think the interface is either it's a computer program or it's a human that they're working with. I think people are kind of over the computer programs. Like the dating apps are just exhausting. And you don't really have any guards for who you match with, right? Whereas if you have a person who's kind of vetting someone on the other side, having extensive conversations, like kind of making sure they are who they say they are
Right.
through a series of conversations, I think that's a lot more reassuring to someone. And I also think that there comes a time in some people's life where they're like, I'm willing to throw some money at this, right? Because it just hasn't worked out until then.
Yeah, I would almost say that it's kind of a mix of both, right? Because if I'm thinking about once an introduction has been made, there's got to be some level of like easy communication to go back and forth to kind of like take things to the next step. So what if it is app based? But before you can set up a profile, you basically there's like a vetting process kind of built into getting access to it. And so it could be like an in-person or like a Zoom call onboarding where this person is, you know, essentially gathering all the information that they need. This person is setting up your profile, and then you get an email invite essentially to the app that then kind of unlocks everything else. That way you still keep it very high quality. You're getting all the right data that you need. And then the ecosystem kind of becomes unlocked.
Right. And I think there has to be like some kind of like psychological evaluation. And it could be just a series of questionnaires that kind of doesn't really tell you what it's asking. It doesn't indicate what it's really asking about.
What
You
does
can tell
this
I dated like a lot
blot?
of crazy people.
What do you see in this ink blot?
Like I think social security numbers should be put in so they can check against like different things.
Right.
I think you have to submit like your IRS tax stubs, you know?
Okay. I mean, I feel like that's a little. Is that from a sales perspective? Is that too invasive? Is this like right off the bat?
But here's the thing: like, if you've had a background of dating crazy people, like you're like, awesome, yeah, I want to know.
Maybe that's the audience.
Yeah.
Maybe this is for either people that have been in long-term relationships, recently divorced, or we lost Tyler.
He ran away. No, his devices are not connected, so I think he might be having internet issues.
Oh.
So we'll just catch him up when he comes back. Well, I think that's a tough niche to market to because, like, oh, have you been in a shitty relationship? You know.
And definitely say it in that like upbeat, you know, just like make.
Have you been taken advantage of? Have you been in a shitty relationship? Did your
then this is for
family?
you.
No.
So okay.
Yeah, this is interesting.
What about?
I really do like the idea of going through the emotional intelligence. Like, we work with people who are actively working on themselves and want to continue that, right? I think that is like a very unique messaging in the marketplace. It's not, we're going to help you hook up really fast, right?
Yeah. And it's a gradual thing over time. Like you could even prioritize like establishing friendships beforehand, you know, and you could also do stuff that's kind of like in-person retreats. So the way you could think about it is people sign up for a year instead of just a certain amount of introductions. And they pay something like $20,000 to $30,000, but they get access to like 3 different retreats throughout the year. They get access to like in-depth conversations that are about like personal growth topics. So they actually get to see people showing up and working on themselves in action.
Yep.
And and they get to reach out to coordinators and say, hey, you know, Tom was really interesting. You know, is he open to an introduction with me? You know, so like a connection is made with consent on both sides outside of these kinds of interactions.
Yeah, I like that. A old mentor of mine, a few years ago, him and his wife went through a divorce, and one of the things that he started doing was there was these divorced singles travel groups, and there was like a very specific travel agent that they worked with. And so I saw, and he would post a bunch of pictures on like Facebook and stuff, but I saw that this is how he was like trying to expand his network of like, okay, I was married for 15 or 16 years. We've got 4 kids. Like there's a very specific type of person that kind of like I'm looking for there. And so it was interesting to see that. So love the in-person retreat idea. I think it's a great way to make a lot of friends, with a lot of people, but make a lot of those connections really fast. And then have kind of like I don't know how you would do it, but having a follow-up process of like, okay, like, do you feel like you connected with anybody there that you would like to have a kind of a more intimate introduction with, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Right. And it could be literally like retreat, like some meditation, there could be some yoga, there could be some vision boarding, you know, and you could go to different activities and really see other people.
Whoa. No, we gotta build in some competition here. Competition is where you see the real how well therapy has actually been working.
We send them out on a motorboat in like 3s and 4s with a faulty motor, and we see how they deal.
Yes, exactly. This is survival matchmaking, right?
Relationship boot camp.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah.
5 men, 5 women go out into the woods. 2 come back. They're gonna get married.
Yes.
How did this turn into Hunger Games?
Okay. What if we go hyper local? Like instead of what if we just like pick a city that's like really bad dating?
Yeah, I think that's really a smart idea because
instead of trying to be we pick a city, and you know we make it we and maybe the service is we do all the admin work. We come up with a cool idea for based on preferences. We come up with we provide coaching to so that you can so it's providing a service on top of it's a way to stand out.
Yeah.
So let's say in this particular city, you sign up for this program. We make the bar to entry. We charge a higher fee than most, and on top of that, you have to do work, which prevents the 2 a.m. scrolling. I'm lonely. I'm gonna sign up for 27 more dating apps. This is not gonna be that because you're gonna have to do too much work.
Right. Well, I think also, in the beginning, if you're having coaching, you could really set up coaching calls with each participant to help them really get clear on what it is that they want. Like they may have self-awareness and be emotionally intelligent and know that they want a relationship, but not really understand what kind of relationship they want. Right. So there's like lead up where they're involved in a lot of the things, but they're going through this process also. So it's like self-exploration, meeting people, and then these like consent-bound introductions. Right. And I think that's the key, because I think like the environment would start to get a little like MTV. What's that MTV show where everyone was living together? You guys never watched MTV, did you?
Anyway. It was like on its way out.
Yeah, I know. It's no longer a show. And I never watched it. It's just one of those things that people refer to. But anyway, they just live together in an apartment. Everyone like hooks up, and it's like very toxic.
Yeah, that sounds like it. It sounds like something that wouldn't go well. Why don't we just put everyone in the house? Everyone's having sex with everyone, and hope that someone couples off afterwards. What are the odds of that?
No. Yeah, there's a lot of antibiotics that are required later.
Antibiotics, shots, yeah.
God. Anyway, but yeah.
Okay, so the idea is, right, the opportunity that we're seeing, emotional intelligence. There's got to be some sort of emotional intelligence involved.
Yep.
Because of that, there's going to be kind of this service. Well, the product itself is still going to be essentially introductions, right? Like you're making introductions between people, but then the services that are on top of that are essentially going to be kind of centered around emotional intelligence, like making sure that you are moving forward in that. Also, like almost like relationship coaching, but I don't want to necessarily say relationship coaching, right? But that is, it seems like that it could potentially be an aspect of this.
Yeah.
Is some relationship coaching there. And I think we're in agreement. I think that like the best way to get this off the ground is to prove it in a location first, right?
Yeah.
Go hyper local to a specific city, start generating traction there. So in that case, like, are we all on board there? Like, I'd say that that's a pretty solid start.
I would add to this that we need to focus on a city that has a larger population of men than women. Because naturally more women are going to have interest in this program, right? If it's skewed and there aren't enough women to go around for all the single men, we're going to get enough buy-in for the men to join into the program. Otherwise, there's not going to be that need on the male side.
Wait, can you explain that again? I lost that. How come there's more interest from women?
Because women are the ones that are saying, I'd rather not be in a relationship if I can't have an emotionally intelligent man.
Oh, got it.
There's like a scarcity side on that. So if you don't want to have like 50 women and 2 guys in these retreats. Like that's not going to work out.
Unless you're the 2 guys, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, unless you're the 2 guys. But,
yeah. So I think
okay, that makes sense.
Seattle has a higher percentage of single straight men than it does single straight women.
All right, we're going to Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, Seattle is where we're kicking this off. Now well, I just totally forgot what I was going to say, so never mind.
Well, let's talk about like age groups and how you're getting in front of people, right? So I mean, I think
that is where I was going to go with that. I think you're looking for a kind of not an older, like I'd say probably like 25-ish minimum.
Older.
I would even say 30, like 30 to 45.
Because
like
when you're 25, you still think that like you can just meet someone.
Yeah.
You haven't been burned enough to like.
I guess I started. I had a pretty rough childhood, so I started therapy when I was like in high school. So like to me, I just 25. Fuck, doesn't everybody go to therapy? Like,
oh come on! I was in elementary school. I got beat.
Tyler, you're also from the center of the U.S., like the coasts. people wait a long time. Like I've had 2 friends from school get married. That's it.
Really?
Everyone else is still single. We're in our 30s, and yeah.
And to add on that, I'm also LDS, and it's like the LDS culture is like, oh, you can walk, great, get married.
Yeah, same in the Orthodox community. It's, you know.
Yeah, so okay. So people tend to wait. I get that. So yeah, 30, maybe even 35 then in that case.
Yeah, I think we market primarily to like the 35 to 45. And like people who like you retarget if they're over 30 and they visited your website.
Yeah, just kind of building up that brand awareness relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
cool.
anyone who doesn't know what retargeting is, I know this. If you visited a website and then you later see a Facebook ad, that is a retargeting ad. Just in case, I learned that from Tyler.
I've heard of
that. You did?
Like,
you learned something from me?
Yeah.
Yes. Mission complete. Does this make sense for even older than 45 or not necessarily? Like,
well, I think here's where you have to be very specific is like, is this pool of people wanting to have children or wanting to like have children as an option? You can absolutely create like a secondary group for people who are 50 plus.
That's true. That's true. Getting started, you want to focus in really hard on one group of people. Yeah, I like that.
If you're a 35-year-old woman and you're like going in to find someone who's like within your age range, and you meet like a really nice 7-year-old man who has done therapy and stuff, that's not necessarily who you're going for, you know?
Ugh, that has to be a lot of therapy to make.
Yeah, there's a lot of therapy that's got to be involved in there.
I mean, he might be real handsome. I don't want to discount him, but
yeah,
typically she's going for like 10 years difference most.
Within, yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. That makes sense.
And regardless, even if it's somewhat arbitrary, I feel like because there's so many apps and there's even more, like there's established apps and platforms and there's even more people trying to get in and coming up with new ideas, you got to be like super specific. Like it's got to be like, 34 to 37 left-handed, like part your hair to the right, like, like really, because otherwise it's such a saturated market.
Right.
Try to do it at scale.
Okay. So I actually push back against that just slightly because I think from the the marketing standpoint, you need a large enough audience that you're able to get a lot of people signed up for the service. But then from there, I do think that you have to then start creating your essentially your sub-markets, right? Your segments of people that are blonde, blue eyes, left-handed, part their hair in a specific way, things like that, want kids, don't want kids. So then you can start matching people up into these different groups, but then also start doing, some cross group pollination, if you will. Because to be honest, like my wife and I are like super, 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 super crazy different, right? I would guess that like if we had gone through a matchmaking service that she and I would have never been matched at. Like she is like super organized. Like for Christmas, she like wants a laminator and she wants like a label maker because like she just like loves that stuff, right? And I am not like that at all, right? So it's like that in almost every aspect. And so that's why I think it's also important. Yes, you need all of this like trying to match up based off of interests, but then also figure out how to get different groups to interact with each other, because different groups are kind of attracted to each other,
Right. Well, and here's the thing, like matchmakers will actually ask like, okay, are you really organized? Oh, you are. Okay. Does it matter to you that your partner be super organized also?
Right.
I don't know what Brittany would have said. Maybe you guys still wouldn't have met, but she might have been like, no, I'm organized for 2 people. Right. Like, that's fine. But whereas
she probably would have said yes.
Never mind.
I also think interest is misleading when in the dating context, because I don't think that, I mean, I have a really small sample size between my dating life and just people in my circle, but I feel like interests doesn't that's not you build a relationship around oh, we both like watching sports movies and hiking and Chinese food. Great, but that's not or yoga or whatever it is. But I feel like personality types and emotional intelligence, there you can really find something, and you would find it in ways that the people who are dating might not be aware of, and so it might not make as much sense to ask, oh, is this important to you? Because they might say yes, but yet when you put Tyler in front of his wife, it's okay, you know what? I get this. This seems to work.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I'm a knitter. I don't necessarily need my boyfriend or my husband to be a knitter. I don't know, if they like watching sports, that's okay because I have knitting. Right? I don't have to.
That's complimentary. That's an example of complimentary.
Yes.
You don't know that.
One person knits, the other one likes.
My friends used to invite me to all the sports games, and I'd just bring food and I'd just knit. And I'd have no idea what was going on.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, so I think you have to charge enough so that you can cover the overhead of different events throughout the year. I think having not continued education, but workshops that are virtual and people get to discover more about themselves and have exposure to other people is going to be really helpful. I think the coaching aspect in the beginning where you get really clear on what you want, and some continued coaching, maybe you could buy some coaching from someone as you're starting to date someone, and you're learning more about yourself and kind of getting to know them better. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
No, growth. Now we're moving into some growth strategies, right? How do you actually get attention so people want to sign up? I think a newsletter is going to be bomb for this one, right? Just a relationship style newsletter where you're covering different aspects of relationships and kind of how to handle them, things like that. I think you hit the nail on the head with workshops, taking that newsletter, those newsletter topics problem solving in relationships, and doing a specific workshop around that. Things like that I think would be really, really good. And that could be done either live, in person, or virtually, right? I think that would be a great way to grab attention there. Ads, I think the ads would work well for this. Facebook ads, probably Google ads as well. People are searching terms all the time, so you can kind of capitalize on that. It'd also be interesting to advertise in other newsletters, right, that are also speaking to your audience. I think that would be really effective. But I think it's got to be centered around the different aspects or the different stages of relationships.
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking one one of the newsletters that you could probably cross with is any egg freezing services.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing for women who are 35 plus. It's okay, well, if I'm going to have kids, you want the freshest eggs possible, and you want to make sure that you have a backup plan if it takes longer than you think.
Going along with that, part of the onboarding process could be the 23andMe stuff, and you can basically guarantee you're never going to date your brother or sister.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
I heard that I think it's Iceland that has such a program because it's such a homogenous population that everyone's basically related, or enough of the population is related to everyone else that you actually really need some what I'm saying.
Basically, we should send each one of these people to Iceland because no one there can date each other.
Last effort.
We have the best.
Anyone in Seattle, apparently. We're going to send you to Iceland.
Oh my
That's quite the business venture. And we'll take a commission, and that's the business.
Yeah.
So question is, how do you scale? If you're going to have a local-based business with a specific business model, you're going to be limited to like a certain pool. But like, okay, keep running events, but how do you blow this thing up?
I think you have to do it city by city. I think it's going to be one of those, like, you do Seattle, you have that machine kind of running, and then I would pick like somewhere like Denver next. I think you're going to second cities first, right? So Denver, and then New York City.
I think
once you have like those three, you have like the West Coast, you have the center, and you have something on the East Coast, then you can kind of branch out into smaller markets.
Yeah, I think eventually, like, you'll, just for ease, like, you'll need to have some sort of software-based database for this. And so I think, like, honestly, the growth path that I would look at is Facebook's, right? Like, Facebook was originally created as like a Harvard communication tool, essentially, right? Like, that's the idea that Zuckerberg had, was, at least I think he was going to Harvard, I don't remember. And he created it specifically for his college campus. But then it got so popular that other college campuses were like, we want this for our college campus. And so then he started expanding that way. It's just, I don't think that you'd want to start with the app first, right? Like, I think you want to start with the service. You want to get the service dialed in, and get a community in Seattle, right? Very excited about it, because then that will then spread to places like Denver, and then you go and duplicate it in Denver, and then you grow in like 3 or 4 cities before all of a sudden now you're like, oh, I guess I do need some sort of software-based support, because now I'm getting more attention than I can handle growth-wise, right? So I need to figure out how to capture that information and set up these hubs in these different cities.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's solid reasoning.
It's the best reason.
Yeah. Well, I think also, you have the premier offer where people like get the coaching and they get access to the retreats and they get access to all these things. And you start off with that and you have it be really community based. But over time you get to offer like a lower tier option, right?
You can. And also with those workshops, if you're doing them virtually, they, like, you don't have to limit yourself to advertising those just in Seattle. You could advertise them everywhere, and basically track where people are opting in from, right? And then when a city hits maybe like critical mass for, men and women who have signed up, then you can create actually a pretty interesting launch strategy of, hey, we're doing this specifically in Seattle. We just hit critical mass in Denver. We're going to get started here. We need your help. And then you get that community involved because you already have those contacts there, right? I think that would be super, super effective as well, as long as, the workshops were high quality, you were collecting that information, you're continuing to nurture them, those contacts, so they don't forget about who you are and things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I imagine there's also other businesses, very much like whenever SoulCycle opens up someplace like Orange Theory, so it's focusing on let's sell franchises there.
Yeah.
Like there must be other businesses that this could kind of piggyback on and be like, oh, well, if you're going to open there, I think we could do well here too.
Right.
Yeah, I think we have it.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, one other thought as like a growth strategy. Sorry, I'm just thinking about, I think something, so I've talked with some communication apps, and one of the problems that always exists with like software, or at least especially with like communication, is this service only becomes more valuable with the more people that use it. Right? Like that's the only way that this takes off. And so there's got to be some sort of mechanism, almost like a viral loop, I think is what the correct term is, of when somebody is getting onboarded, they're also bringing along 2 friends, right? That's in a similar situation as them. That has to be built into the ecosystem, because again, this service is only as valuable as many people use it, right? And so that could be another growth strategy. There is that kind of like referral process or new user acquisition process.
Right. So like if you refer in 2 friends, then you get $5,000 off, and they also get $5,000 off.
Right.
Yeah, or it could be, instead of monetary of 5,000, it could be, you get by paying this, you get your 3 in-person events. We're going to throw in a bonus, all paid for event when you bring in 3 additional ones, right? And that could be specifically just for that group of people that helped, reach a larger audience. But that sort of viral loop has got to be crucial to this.
No, totally.
And there's got to be some non-refundable application fee, because the evaluation process itself is going to require work, and the more selective you are, the more applications you're going to have to review even before you set the client. So what happens if you reject 4 applications because you've set your standard here and they don't meet your standard, but you've now reviewed or have had staff reviewing applications and coaching, and the more in-depth you make it, there's got to be some like a one-time fee to apply, and that'll also help weed out people that aren't serious.
Well, here's the thing, like if someone has invested $20,000 in this, you could say, hey, listen, through the evaluation process, we've actually kind of determined you're not quite ready to be entered into the pool yet. Let's introduce you to our network of therapists.
To get you,
like, you genuinely want this,
right?
Or we can refund you $15,000 based on all this. Like, because I would rather have someone like be fully committed, be like, I'm in, and then be like, oh, I need to work on myself some more. Interesting. That's some feedback.
Right, but even if it was just like something much, even if it was like $500, let's say.
Yeah.
Just to apply, right? It's the fee, so you're paying $500. You're probably not going to do that on a whim, right? Like, meaning it's to prevent like just getting an influx of like, why not? Because that's going to be a resource drain for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we'd have to flesh that out, like what the intake process is. I was imagining it was more of like a pre-qualified test that kind of like kicks out some answers.
Like an AI or algorithm that can but it's
a quiz. How emotionally intelligent are you?
Right. Well, because like for instance, when I did egg donation, they make you go through all of these psychological evaluations, and it's like yes, no, or not applicable. And the questions, like after a while, like if you're psychologically unsound, they're going to figure it out. But the answers are no different. Like if you're answering a certain way, like but you can train the computer to read it.
Right.
Right. But if someone does like come through the cracks and pay $20,000, you get to say, hey, listen, based on the feedback that we're seeing, like this isn't going to work. We'd rather give you your money back for, a portion of it than have this be a frustrating experience for you. I would rather have someone go through the cycle and pay the money and then decide this isn't going to work. My computer's going to die.
Yeah, I think the application process would have to be robust enough that itself weeds people out that wouldn't be more or less committed.
Right. Sorry, I'm kind of a weird setup with my charger. Hold on.
So I'm kind of curious, David, from what are potential liabilities that you see in like a dating service, matchmaking service? Because I mean, you're introducing people. If you're going and traveling, there could be travel liabilities. You're getting a group of people together that some people may slip through the cracks, and I don't know. I'm just curious from a legal standpoint.
I think in terms of the events, like the in-person part of it, I think the main risk are the kind of things that would come up when you have a venue. You need general liability insurance if somebody, because when you're hosting space, you're hosting people, and it's a public venue. Whether you rent space or you just have space hosted in various restaurants or bars or clubs or whatever space you rent out, you'd want some insurance policy that protects you there. When it comes to your clients, it's important to have a very clear refund policy, whatever it is, so that you don't have, because especially if you're charging a lot of money and it doesn't work, or somebody is really not the right fit, but they slip through the cracks, and you let them in, and now they paid a ton of money for this thing, and there's no matches for them because you've set it up where they're really not a right fit. Have an SOP, a very clear procedure for what do you do when that person, sends an angry email. How do you talk to them? What do you offer them? What can you afford to offer them? Because when you're starting out, I mean, you have to make sure that you have a business model where you're not depending on every application, and that you have it in your books so that you allocate a certain amount of money that's going to have to be refunded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough business. We picked a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one.
A good one, but a tough one.
Yeah. I'm glad we got this one.
Yeah, this is interesting.
It's more challenging.
This has been a little bit harder to figure out the details. But I also think the challenge is this is a really saturated market, right? And I think that's where the difficulty comes in, is like, we haven't done any prior research to understand where even the opportunities are, right?
Totally. No, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. This is good.
Yeah. I'm so glad we did this. I can't wait for next time when we have something that's a little easier.
Yeah, can we do the eliminated stand?
It's like progressive overload. Like when you're working out, sometimes you just gotta go for the power lift.
I know. This is our power lift, matchmaking.
There you go.
I think it's safe to say that none of us should be starting a matchmaking company.
Yeah.
With all of my dating knowledge, yeah. I mean, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad there are people who are good at this because, it looks rough out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to keep going there. I know when to stop.
All right. So are we good for 2 weeks from now, the next episode of Biz Lab Live?
Go for it.
Yeah, Tyler? Yep. Okay, amazing. Tyler, David, thanks for joining tonight. Should we sing ourselves out with Matchmaker, Matchmaker, Make Me a Match?
Oh, yeah. We didn't look before. We could have done the music.
Here, hold on. I can look it up. We're gonna sing along with it.
I don't know if you want me to be singing.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, here's a YouTube video.
Cycle, you're the oldest. Yenta has to make a match for you before she could make one for me.
Can you hear this?
Yenta. Well, somebody has to arrange the matches. Young people can't decide these things for themselves.
Well, she might bring someone wonderful.
Someone interesting.
And well off.
And important. Matchmaker, matchmaker,
Matchmaker, make me a match.
Find me a find.
Catch me a catch.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, look through
We're
your
killing this.
All right, if we get a music production business next, I think that we're just gonna have to pass on that. Not sure we have what it takes.
I actually only know the first few words, so yeah, that wasn't the best idea on my part. Anyway,
all right, thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Lee and Kristen, thanks for being involved in the conversation. We love this to be interactive. And to everyone else who has been joining us for the last hour, thank you for being here. We can't wait to see you next week or in 2 weeks when we do our next episode of Biz Lab Live. I'm Katie McManus.
I'm David Fryman.
And I'm Tyler Cook.
Okay. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.